Hi everyone, Joshua Fletcher here from DS Laird, and today we're recording a session to recap the BI2013 event that happened in Singapore a few weeks ago. I'm joined by fellow DS Laird compatriot, Clint Bosley. Hey Clint.
Hi guys, hey Josh.
And I'm also joined by Timo Elliott from Paris. Hey Timo.
Hi.
Thanks for coming along. And Lestor Meadows from Sydney. Hey Lestor, how are you?
I can mute and unmute, Josh. I'm just saying hi and I'll mute.
Great. Well, thanks for joining us, Lestor. So, yeah, we want to recap the event that happened a couple of weeks ago in Singapore. So it was the second time the show ran, organised by SAPInsider. Clint, is your second time at that event?
Yeah, I was there for the inaugural one last year, which was quite an interesting event. What I mean by that is, there was about half the size. I think there were about 350 people. But more importantly, from the community aspect, in terms of people sort of speaking up in your sessions, it was sort of quiet as a church mouse for the first 2 days. So many times, so you posed a question and there'd just be, as I like to say, crickets in the background. No one wanted to engage. No one was. It was a very shy audience, and I don't know if that's a cultural thing or what it was. But on day 3 last year, things definitely picked up. There was a lot more conversation. There was a bit more buzz in the room. The good thing this year was sort of double, almost triple the size, and almost off the bat there was a lot of conversations. Still pretty quiet in your sessions compared to if you're speaking in the US or Europe or in Australia, but still a lot more collaboration and a lot more effort. And I think SAP themselves did a huge push on the social side. Timo's talk was only standing room only, so to speak. So yeah, I think the event's got a huge potential, and from year 1 to year 2, it was a huge step up, and I'm looking forward to year 3 if they have me back.
Yeah, I certainly enjoyed it, and it was my first time at the event, but it was packed, and there was a lot of great conversations happening on the show floor. Timo, you made the long trip out there. What were your thoughts on the event?
So first time I'd attended, but I thought it was great. It definitely had the critical mass, and as you say, SAP has been putting a strong push behind having a more community feel for the Asia-Pacific region, and I think this was a great step towards that.
Excellent. Yeah, the keynote was the Network of Truth around BI. I know that was elaborated on last week, BOUC as well, and kind of expanded on. So, Lestor, you're one of the SAP customers running BW and business objects for Kimberley Clark. Attending as a customer, what were your thoughts on the event?
It was big, and it started off right, with the 2 first opening sessions. It kind of really set the stage, I thought. The group was quiet, I think, in that first day. On the second day, similar to what Clint was saying, people became more warm and more interested in speaking. So I found it as a very good event, and the sessions were well mapped out. It was just large, from what I've seen in the past from other events.
I enjoyed the first keynotes. The first keynotes were the ones by François Lançon and Kurt Bielefer on the background, and plus there were a couple about sort of HR and finance, and I thought there was a great job of, all of them were tailored for the region. I was impressed by some of the statistics. The future is Asia, absolutely, and so the future of the conference and the community hopefully is just as rosy, but I hadn't realized just how much momentum there is coming out of the region and how big it's going to be in the future.
Complete side note there, Timo, is, I recently posted a blog about me immigrating to Australia, and I originally looked at the US and attended a similar conference out and heard all the statistics about the growth and where the global economy is going, and that's pretty much what made my decision to head out east instead of west. Follow the jobs.
SAP also put a big on SAP put a big push on social media at the event as well. I think it's something they carried over from last year, and they had some really great sessions. So there was one where they got a guy from LinkedIn to talk to everyone about raising your social media profile, and we also did one on the second day that was really well attended. Did you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So I did a session on being an evangelist, sharing your passion about something, as we are doing here. The folks that were manning the social media stand, I think, did a fantastic job of getting people through the first steps of social media. They helped lots of people create their Twitter profile, create their LinkedIn profile, start getting people used to using social media, and I think it's a great opportunity for people to share some of that passion more across the region.
I noticed a lot of times I'd be walking past the social media booth and they'd be helping a new user log on to Twitter, create an account, tweet with the hashtag, and a lot of people don't have that information about how to do that. So I thought it was a really great initiative by SAP.
And of course, you have to mention the ducks. You're going to explain the ducks?
Clint likes the ducks.
I love the ducks. Yeah. So the ducks was sort of. Kurt Billifer was wondering if it was a career-limiting move bringing the ducks out last year as a joke. The whole concept was for the region was, get your ducks in the water. I think, back then a year ago, analytics and database and technology was separated, and a lot of people were waiting for BI 4.1 or Service Pack 3 to come out for everything to be ready, so to speak. And I think the message Kurt was trying to get across was, get your ducks in the water, start the process, start your journey onto your new platform. What he didn't expect was for me to steal the ducks and take them drinking around town and let them pop up in South Africa, and the ducks have pretty much been global as I've traveled. So, I'm a big fan of the ducks, and I was glad to see them back this year. And they've been on Twitter. They've been one or two with my kids in the bath. They've been at a rugby game. I haven't taken them surfing yet, but they've pretty much been everywhere.
Lester, what did you think of the social media booth?
Again, it's just another great way of getting people involved and engaged. Watching people come up and get the things set up, it was really good. They really brought home in that first day in those sessions about how important mobility is. And I think one of the challenges we have in across the globe is just trying to get our Android devices connected into our SAP environments. And it just seems to be mobility and that connectivity anywhere, anytime is so important. I thought the booth did a great job of getting people engaged.
Lestor, I know you spoke to quite a few of the local customers. Just as from your insight as a customer, are they having similar problems to what you've experienced in ANZ region, or are they a little bit backwards in terms of thinking? No offense meant, but where are they on their sort of maturity path?
I think a lot of them are really starting. They're early in the maturity curve. And it was an honor being able to speak to, in the VIP, the one-on-one sessions that we had, giving people encouragement and sharing lots of best practices and documents to get them up and going. Ask the expert. We had a couple people in there coming and asking, helpful hints and things to do. I thought that was a great aspect of the conference of, getting that sort of interaction and letting, companies like us, Kimberley Clark, who are quite mature in SAP Business Intelligence to, give back to the community. And so I thought that was a great aspect of the conference.
I definitely had a really interesting conversation actually, which kind of shed some light on the region, because one of the people that attended my presentation grabbed me after and wanted to talk a little bit more about business objects, and they'd just implemented SAP and HANA and business objects on top of HANA for all of their reporting. And you really don't see that very often in a lot of organizations. I think in the Asia region, there's a lot of customers that are doing net new implementations of SAP ERP, and the really exciting thing about that is that they don't have all that, I guess, legacy setup in terms of their architecture. They can go straight into this new architecture that SAP are now proposing with ERP running on HANA, business objects running on HANA. That's really exciting to me.
It's a very good point.
Something on that topic is also what attracted me to the region was I was told that out of the business objects customers, the user base, 70% of them are non-classic SAP customers. But I think this is where the opportunity for SAP can come here, because Josh, we did a session together and another session, and it was filled with 95% BW people. So the agnostic business objects people running the SQL Server Oracles, DB2s, or whatever they're running, aren't sort of engaging with, aren't sort of associating themselves with the community, aren't coming to the events, which means there's a huge bunch of people out there that don't realize all this information is available, don't realize where the product's gone, don't know about the BI Academy, So that's a blog post in writing, which I'm busy with, is where are all the BobJ people? You know, there must be plenty of them out there who just don't know where the product's going. So that's something else that I picked up, which was pretty interesting.
I was interested by the cultural differences. As you said, the audience was a little quiet, but that's true of a lot of different countries. One thing that SAPinsider did that I thought was interesting is they tried out an application that allowed the audience to enter their questions into a little web app on their phones, and then rank the questions for a Q&A. And we used it in one of the panel sessions I presented at, and we got lots and lots of questions. There was a real interaction with the audience. So I think taking away that barrier of having to put your hand up and do so publicly really helped the engagement. It's definitely something I'm going to look forward to using in other regions in the future.
I have to agree, that was brilliant. I think the app's the URL's Pigeonhole. I don't know what it was, some weird domain, but it's called Pigeonhole. And you know, it was so nice as you said in that panel discussion, to fire those questions in, rank them, and only what the audience want to know. I thought it was a brilliant initiative by Insider to bring that in.
The other cultural aspect I was interested in was Osaka Gas. Kawamoto-san is the head of basically of a BI competency center, but he was recently elected Data Scientist of the Year in Japan. And one of the reasons he explained was that it's just because BI and analytics is just so low-key in general in Japan. So there are web companies that are obviously doing data science, but Osaka Gas is like a 116-year-old company, and so they called him out because he was actually applying analytics to traditional Japanese businesses, and this was still something that was a little bit new. And so part of his mission was to get the word out to more companies. So I think you're right. We need to help change the culture across the region.
Sorry, Timo, another question from the whole, the big data aspect. I know you did that, the webinar with Steve Lucas on that during your holiday, I think. But what was interesting, I mean, obviously everybody knows I'm the database guy, and what was interesting for me was, some of the other technologies, the Hortonworks hadn't been released yet, but, IQ started coming out of the cover. Hadoop was mentioned a lot in a lot of the sort of the more data-eccentric conversations. What is your take on the whole big data message in the region?
So the bottom line is the vision is exactly what you would expect and want. It's to try and build what we call the real-time data platform, a seamless platform that brings together the best of the different technologies, whether it's Hadoop or Sybase IQ, HANA, complex event processing, and bring all that together in a single seamless platform where we store the information in the right place and then black box it as much as possible, and most importantly, and this is the area we can provide perhaps the most value, adding all of the real-world enterprise management systems that you need. So you actually get compliance, and you can actually get data governance across those different systems. It's something that SAP is very good at. And of course your transaction systems, I should have mentioned. And the idea, hope to do a follow-up to that big data webinar with Steve. We're going to do another one with Hortonworks, and I think Irfan Khan is going to do one. He's the CTO of Sybase, and he is the sort of go-to person working for Steve on everything to do with this big data initiative. So you can hear lots over the coming weeks. Unfortunately, the big data bus is not going to make it out to Asia, but there's going to be lots of information.
So just on that topic, we had a mentor call with Irfan yesterday, and it was brilliant. I think everybody found it one of the top mentor calls, in the back channel. Hortonworks, I've actually got it running on my very underspec MacBook Air. The sandbox is brilliant, so if anybody wants to download that, it's run it on VirtualBox. I've only got 4 gigs of RAM on here, but I've done all the sort of Pig, Hive, all those tutorials, and it's pretty intuitive. So it's a nice bundled set of software that I've used, and it's all free. So have a look, people.
And the director of strategic marketing is an ex-Business Objects alumni, so he absolutely gets the whole BI side of Hadoop. I actually recorded a video with him, John Kreiser. It's on my YouTube video feed. I haven't yet got around to putting it into a blog post, but I'll try and get that out soon. Because I asked them, with your BI background, how do you see Hadoop and how it addresses analytics for some normal enterprises, not just web companies.
Yeah.
And I had a great discussion with him and their marketing VP. So I'll put those conversations up. It was illuminating for me, at least.
Because the thing for me, and I picked this up very much in region, everybody, when you talk about Hadoop and big data, from the conference, everybody says, well, we have to manage our Twitter. We've got to see what people are saying of us, because that's their perception in quotes of what big data is. And I know, Lestor, yourselves, you've got a solution that you buy a third-party product. It costs maybe $1,000 a month. They look at 40 social media sort of channels, sanitize it, cleanse it, and give you the data back, which is obviously, I think, a much better investment than going on a whole Hadoop cluster. But it was just very interesting for me when people were, the classic enterprise SAP customers were assuming that they needed a Hadoop cluster to manage their social environment, which was interesting.
There's so much confusion about big data, and it's the most important thing is when everybody starts a conversation with you about big data, just please make sure that you all separate out whether you're talking about the business aspects, doing business in new ways with new types of data, or talking about the technology aspects, because otherwise the conversation gets very confusing very fast.
And Timo, those terms of velocity, variety, and volume with big data, how do you see that for businesses?
So
are those common buzzwords, or are they more just, what's your thoughts on those three words?
So that's a definition by Doug Laney of Gartner, and it's over 12 years old, interestingly enough. I actually did a blog post on the 7 definitions of big data you need to know about, in order from the most technical to the highest level. And the bottom line is they're a useful starting point for any discussion, and certainly my favorite definition as big data is just data that was previously ignored because of technology limitations. The technology has improved in lots of different directions, whether it's in memory or Hadoop or NoSQL or other ways. So it's an opportunity to take a new look at the analytics technology. Anybody who's been doing this for 10 years knows that best practice was pretty much settled 3 or 4 years ago. We knew how to build a data warehouse. It wasn't always easy, but we knew how to do it and how to get the data out to people. A lot of that best practice is now obsolete if you were starting from scratch, as a lot of people in this region can, in the Asia region can, because it's net new implementations, as you mentioned. They can do it in a very different way and start looking at data from different sources and new opportunities. So it's a big subject.
For me, the key point there is the variety of data. If within the enterprise, I'm pretty outspoken by saying most people do operational reporting and not BI. They call it BI because that's what it is these days. But if they just start merging disparate data, systems within their organization and use the variety aspect of it, that's a start down the path of actually doing analytics and I suppose big data, if you want to use the word. And every podcast goes with me plugging Sybase IQ, and having that technology and working with it for 15 years, I'm quite used to bringing all the disparate data systems together because you're not hindered by performance because you can actually process all that data. Shame it's over.
I have to say my favorite session of the conference was your demonstration. You and Josh doing the Sybase IQ and business objects universes, but especially the Sybase IQ. You did a lovely compare and contrast with the free version of SQL Server that blew me away.
I'm still waiting for Microsoft to sue me, but they have to find me at the tip of Africa.
Maybe we can actually to kind of use that. Lestor, I guess what was your favorite presentation in the conference, and I guess what did you take away from it?
Tetra Pak is a company, and Frederick is, really impressed me. I was fortunate to sit in the Singapore Strategic Advisory Council, the first one, and I got to meet him. But his presentations I found very similar in an environment. And just what they're doing in his organization, so that really touched. Josh, sitting on yours, we have our team actually getting together on next Monday, looking at your power slides, and they're very keen to get the downloads to look at ways of building those dashboards with that web kind of design. So And the startup of the conference, the first two sessions really set the stage with mobility and where we're heading. And Timo, you made a comment earlier about, it's this region that has the largest and factual proof of being, the growing region, and where to really to focus your business and opportunity. So, those first sessions kind of hit the stage, really kind of hit the point for me, setting the stage for the whole couple days.
Excellent.
I also love Tetra Pak's presentation. Just to explain, it was basically, and I've seen variations of the same presentation from lots of other companies. If there's one big trend this year for me, it was time to rethink our BI strategy presentation, where people have built what they considered the sort of perfect BI competency center, very centralized, getting data out to the business users, only to realize that the business users were bypassing them because of a lack of perceived flexibility. And Tetra Pak did a good job of realizing that they needed to change something, going out, spending time with the business people in the regions on the good aspects of what they were doing to do analytics better. They found it was sort of cheaper and more flexible and more agile, but combining that with a governance framework that meant that you didn't have lots of businesses putting together their own analytics and creating new separate silos and duplicating all the costs. So that was Tetra Pak's presentation, and I've seen something very similar from a number of other companies. So that's the one big thing that I've taken away from the last few conferences, is there's absolutely the great time to do that.
Josh, what is your favorite part?
So I attended a couple of sessions that were really interesting. Sorry. First one was by SAP Luke Kwong, who I've actually met before, and he did a presentation on information governance, which is really relevant to the role I'm playing at the moment, and the SAP product stack. But what was really interesting about that presentation is he focused on focused on SAP as a case study, in terms of how they actually use their own technology. They put in place data governance frameworks and processes, and then spoke about the actual value, the actual results they got in terms of the money that they saved, just in terms of managing their customer information better. I think he said like 95% of all their customer information has one error or less with it. So they actually monitor that on an ongoing basis, and how they save millions of euros in terms of just fixing those processes. So that was really interesting. And the other one that I really enjoyed was actually yours, Clint, which was around the HANA Smart Data Access and the BW IQ Nearline Storage, because I'm I love seeing technology work, and you went into both of them in a lot of detail, and that was just awesome to see how those pieces are coming together to form the real-time data platform. Those are the kind of the things that have just been released that are starting to form that platform. So that was really interesting for me.
Thank you, Joshua. And none of that would have been possible without the help of Ethan Jewett, who's a BW guru, because I know nothing about BW. But what I'm trying to extend on with the smart data access when I did HANA and IQ is bring in the Hortonworks Hadoop cluster as well. So you can what I've got in my head, which is a scary place, but is actually try to create an analytical view in HANA that can access HANA. Sorry, gentlemen. African bandwidth. African bandwidth. Welcome, welcome. Someone stole a cable somewhere. What did you hear from?
You're explaining your scary vision, which isn't so scary, because it's exactly what we're trying to do.
Well, yeah. Anyway, so I'll just pull back. Okay, Josh, you can just edit it out. Cool. Yes. No. Okay, I'll go. Cool.
Sorry.
So thanks. Yes. Okay. I'll just go. Reading email. Thanks, Josh. What I'm also looking to do in terms of the smart data access presentation I did, or the live demo, was I used HANA and IQ running on Amazon, and hence me downloading the Hortonworks sandbox. I'm trying to create an analytical view in HANA, which will merge HANA IQ and Hortonworks and merge them all together in sort of one query. And then I'm starting to benchmark a bit. I mean, I'm running it on my MacBook Air, but what was very interesting, I brought in a couple of gigs worth of data on the Hadoop cluster here. Horrific at account star, but when you want to look for ends and likes within the Hadoop, it was blisteringly fast. So I think that's going to be quite interesting as that whole sort of real-time data platform matures, where you put certain data and how you're going to quickly access it to your best benefit. So you can put certain things in IQ because you have to crunch it in a certain way, and other things in Hadoop because you want to look at it that way. So that's pretty much what I'm trying to achieve.
Excellent. And were there any presentations you found really interesting and are taking away from?
I actually, the good part of the conference from me is I never really watched any presentation because I kept getting pulled into customer discussions, which is always great, and trying to advise people on, what was very interesting for me is I'm also pretty outspoken about the analytical side, or the presentation layer being the lipstick on the pig, and you really need to understand your structures and get your information correct before you can serve it. And it seems that the messages got down to that information governance as well as the database structures and how to set that up to make sure your analytics actually can work from a longevity point of view. So most of the conversations I had with customers was, okay, well, we've got this, what do we do? As I said in the beginning, we need to do. Like, why do you need to do? Because we need to, not actually understand why, which pieces of the puzzle fit in there. So unfortunately, I wasn't in a lot of sessions, but my best sessions, I sat in 3 of the panels, and I love the panels because it's the customer panels, that is, because it's pretty much a warts and all story of this didn't work, we had to use this workaround because of that. So for me, that's quite more real life of what happened on the ground compared to what the marketing material will tell you.
Excellent.
And the other highlight was having beers with you, or with all of you guys at the top of the world in Singapore. That's pretty awesome. Not a bad place to be.
Yes, Marina Bay Sands is definitely a nice place to have a conference.
Absolutely. I have to say that was one of the highlights. That is, if you're ever in Singapore, you go get a day pass to the Marina Bay Sands Club on the 57th floor. It's stunning.
Yeah.
Good place to talk business.
I can't remember.
We might call it a day. I mean, for me, it was a great conference, and we put on a great job. SAP sponsorship was great around the event too. So thanks all. It was great hanging out, and lots of great customer conversations and presentations. So.
Yeah, I'm really hoping to be able to attend again next year.
Me too.
Same here.
Cool. Thanks. Cheers, guys.
Excellent. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Bye.
Okay, take care.
Okay.
This podcast is hosted and sponsored by EV Technologies. Visit us online at savethecms.com.
D-Slayer!